viewers, I just saw Antman and the Wasp QUANTUMANIA, and this is my Reel It In review. If you guys already saw my Letterboxd review, then you know my thoughts. If you saw my TikTok review, you know my thoughts. So, you're pretty much clicking on this video to get a little bit more detail as to why I think this movie is a movie. It did not work for me. Plain and simple, straight to the point, this movie just did not work for me. Now, the synopsis of this movie is simple. The Ant-Man family gets trapped in the quantum realm. As you saw in the trailers, next thing you know, they meet Kang. Kang the Conqueror. That's your plot, simple as that. What could go wrong, right? I mean, you have Kang the Conqueror here. You have a good story. I think the story in this third film is really good. It's just the execution just did not work for me. Starting out with the things that I like, I'll say this. Straightforward, you're going to hear from a lot of people, Kang the Conqueror. Jonathan Majors does a phenomenal job as Kang, and I'm excited to see him be the main big bad, the next Thanos level threat to the MCU. Another positive has to be Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne. She does a great job. I really love how this movie touches on what happened with her in the quantum realm, and they explain that really well with her backstory. I really enjoyed that, but those are my positives. When I think of positive things that I really liked about this movie, it's just those two things. Like, I didn't even mention Ant-Man, and he's in the title. And I didn't mention Wasp, and she's in the title. So that should tell you all you need to know. This movie is a disappointment to me. If you guys have seen my trailer reactions, I've told you plenty of times that I've never been hyped for an Ant-Man film until this movie. And now that I have seen Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, I am very disappointed at how this all played out. I let my expectations get the best of me. I had them super high. I mean, going into this film, the trailers worked. They reeled me in. They got me hyped. They got me excited. And it has Kang. Kang is one of my favorite villains of Marvel. He's top tier. And I'm glad he's next, right after Thanos. But the execution, the way that this movie tried to be Rick and Morty, it shows vibes of Star Wars. I've seen people compare it to Star Wars. But for me, I feel the strong vibes of it being Rick and Morty. And it's very hard to replicate what that show does. And they try it here on a bigger scale, and it just falls flat for me. But let's start off with the characters. We got Ant-Man, played by Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is a great actor. I think he's perfect for Ant-Man. I just think him in this story, he is overshadowed by quite a lot of things. The Wasp, played by Evangeline Lilly. She's in the title, but that's about it. I mean, she doesn't do much other than save Scott from time to time, but that's literally her role in this movie. And I feel like the sequel to the very first Ant-Man film, Ant-Man and the Wasp, does more service to her character than this movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I mean, she's in the title of this film, and she feels even way more underused. That's not a good sign. Next, we have Cassie Lang, played by Katherine Newton. She did not work for me. I mean, I just could not connect with her. She's just there. She is just there. She's calling out for her dad so many times throughout this movie. It got to a point where I was just like, okay, this is the movie. This is the movie I'm getting. Okay. But that's Katherine Newton for you as Cassie Lang. I thought she would be better in here, but it just did not work for me. Moving on to Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. This man, Michael Douglas, is done with these films. Stop putting him in these Ant-Man films. Take him out the MCU. He's clearly done, and you can tell he is phoning it in this last film of this trilogy. He's absolutely phoning it in. And lastly, MODOK. Oh my god. There is a scene with MODOK in this movie that did not need to be in the film, but it is, and it absolutely took me out. But I understand, the man has a gigantic forehead. We get it after the 5th joke. It was funny at first, it was funny the 2nd time, it worked the 3rd time. The 4th time, it's weighing a little bit. The 5th time, you need to stop. But no, let's keep hammering it down every time this man is on the screen. We get it. He has a giant head. But man, they did MODOK dirty in this movie. Did not like the direction that they chose for him, nor the conclusion that they chose for him. But there you have it. That's MODOK for you. Now, with Antman and the Wasp QUANTUMANIA, they decided to go big. And by big, they decided to expand this story of Antman. I see these Antman films being this self-contained franchise for the Antman films. Antman 1 is really to itself. Antman 2 is the same too, really to itself. But Antman 3, they expand that story. They are bringing in a big threat. It's Kang. So that tells you right there, they are deciding to go big, and it just does not work. The quantum realm is cool to look at, but the way that they go about it, it's just flashy colors, the life down there, that's about it. That's the quantum realm for you. The action in this movie is okay, I would have to say. I'm sorry, but I just thought it was okay. But the Kang versus Antman fight scene,
you thought you could win. I don't have to win. We both just have to lose.
that was perfect. They nailed that. I mean, you see it in the trailers, they nail it. That is a very good scene. That is something I will constantly replay over and over in my head. I can see myself later down the road putting this movie on only to watch that fight scene. That's about it. Or any scenes that Kang is in. That's about it. But yeah, this movie just did not land for me, and I wanted it to land. The special effects in this movie could have been better. There were times when it looks really, really good, and then there were times when you can tell they are definitely on a green screen. Like, it was, it hurts the eyes. That's it, man. Those are my thoughts on this film. I expected a lot. I'll take this one. I set my expectations a little bit too high. I was, like I said, hyped to see this movie. I was ready to reel this in, and I should have kept my expectations, you know, super low. But that's on me. I enjoyed the very first Ant-Man film. It's underrated. It's still the best Ant-Man film. I love it, and I might have to rewatch that just to, you know, cleanse the palate of this movie. Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, is a letdown. It's bottom tier MCU. I did not like that movie, but Ant-Man QUANTUMANIA just really disappointed me, and it, you know, makes me sad, you know? I was just really excited for this, and it let me down. I did not expect this movie to turn out the way it did. I thought the critics, for Rotten Tomatoes, that is, if you haven't seen the score, it's not looking too good. I mean, the audience score as of right now is looking good, but I thought the critics were just being too harsh. But I understand it now. The critics, and I've seen some reviews now that I've watched the movie, and some of those critics are correct. This movie dropped the ball. It dropped the ball for me. But the bright side is, we got Kang the Conqueror, and we officially have a really good villain on the horizon. And I can't wait to see how it all plays out with Phase 5. But like I said, no spoilers here, but this movie has 2 post-credit scenes. The first post-credit scene is very, very weird, but I understand it. I actually called it during the movie. I knew where they were going, and I like the direction of it. Just the execution is very wacky and really, really weird. It absolutely took me out. It took my whole theater out, as I didn't see it as funny, but the whole audience was dying laughing. And I was just like, well, this is what type of movie this movie is. It's a movie. The second post-credit scene is really, really good, and it's got me hyped. It's got me hyped. I won't say any spoilers here, but that second post-credit scene is really, really good. But overall, guys, I really wish I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. It just did not hit for me. Should you reel this in, or should you cast this movie aside? I will tell you this: you should not reel this in. Save your money. Matter of fact, wait for this on Disney Plus. If not that, go see this movie at a matinee price. But you should stay in. There's no rush to go see this movie. That is what I'm trying to tell you. I will say this: Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania should not be compared to Thor: Love and Thunder. You heard that here first. It is nowhere near as bad as that film. It is nowhere near than Thor: The Dark World. So if someone says that Thor: Love and Thunder is better than Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, they're tripping. That is all cap. This movie isn't good, but it's not as bad. But that's going to conclude this review for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Let me know your thoughts. This is just my opinions. If you like this movie, I understand that. There are some good moments here and there. It's just those good moments, I might not have enjoyed it as much as you did. But there's no need to panic. Marvel's still in good hands, and I can't wait to reel in the next Marvel film, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I'm pretty sure that movie is going to be far better than what I just watched. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Plenty more reactions are on the way. Plenty more Reel It In reviews are on the way too. I'm Reel It In Miles. This is Reel It In Reactions. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.